holding that up. Anyway, so for this game we have Kanto from Team A, Asteroid from Team B, Black Magic for Team C, and Gameslayer again for Team D. And we're playing on Mars this time. I do not believe anyone has the map seed for this.
Yep, I can confirm Team C does not have the map seed.
Okay.
And D doesn't either.
So we have a chemical colony. One potential scavenger spot with most of the carbon there, but this is Mars, so carbon scrubbing always an option, not necessarily something to pay too much attention to.
Yep. It's a bit far from aluminium water as well, so it's the greatest spot for that.
I'd just be interested in taking the obvious scientific spot. We have both fuel and food starting high, so that should just be really nice.
Yeah, I can definitely see some quick scientists here.
And there we go.
Yep, Kanto taking it.
Moving into iron first makes plenty of sense with that starting double, but if you can get that crashed out before other people get their founds down, then he will really be slowing them down and giving himself a nice boost.
Yep, Black Magic going for that scavenger spot we talked about.
I'm a bit concerned about that with nukes available.
Yeah, nukes are a problem, but it is a chemical colony, so you know it may pay off before we get to that point. So you did mention carbon scrubbing, but not everyone can have it.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit less interested in scavengers when there are claims on the market, just because you're not really leveraging their shorter cooldowns as much.
So not to interrupt, but we have Asteroid, an interesting development here. Going straight for Kanto's water with his steel.
Yeah, that should be really annoying to Kanto. I don't know how well it'll work for Asteroid. Moving into... Oh, he picked up a claim very quickly.
Yeah, Asteroid has the high water, so he's got enough water to sustain as long as he can find his iron, which he's got from distance.
Right.
So I'm actually not minding this spot too much.
Right, once he gets to HQ2, he should be in a great position. Before then, he might have to do some awkward dancing around, but he'll probably be fine anyway. Meanwhile, Gameslayer does not really have access to water.
Yeah, and now Kanto is lacking that sinus bonus. I wonder if we're going to see maybe like a fast teleportation rush here. Just to overcome that lack of water they've all got.
And definitely an option. There are magnetic storms to worry about, so you can't really just throw your water claims out to the west or something and pretend it'll be fine. Chems rising rapidly as we would expect from the chemical colony, so if Kanto is planning for a patent rush, we'll need to do it fairly quickly, and it's going to be hard to do that when steel is already this low, and he doesn't really have a great other source of income, although he's moving into these farms now.
There's a steel shortage coming up, so that might just give Kanto what he needs.
Yeah, no one is sitting on a stockpile of steel, so...
Yeah, I don't know if Black Magic is going to pre-buy into that, but it's incredibly risky with 3 steel HQs there.
Yeah, I generally wouldn't think it's worth it. Black Magic seems to be the first person into power. Gameslayer also claiming this geotherm. But that's not going to be enough.
The black market is online.
So Black Magic potentially with a very nice market to himself here.
Yeah, he's got a black market buy coming up. I wonder if he buys a goon for the power or another claim. He goes for the goon. Good choice.
Yep.
I think with this market to himself, so we see Kanto actually rushing for a patent up there and going superconductor.
Does have the silicon secured for the solar panels before too long, but I am still concerned about that because it will be nighttime before long. And this is also kind of odd placement for the solar panel. He can't get a second one down unless he scraps out of the patent lab, which I don't think you want to do, because there's still a lot you want to get.
Yep, again, that teleportation springs to mind. This is feeling very reminiscent of last game, with Kanto rushing them patents yet again.
Yeah.
I think with being in C there, going superconductor, he has a very good chance of stalling here.
Yeah, I think picking up this geothermal auction for 24k is a pretty significant mistake. It does not leverage superconductor at all. It plunges him into the C debt right now. He's not going to have a chance to fix that before it comes D debt at nighttime, and a world of problems.
It'd be much nicer just to let the expensive of the scavenger have it. He can really take advantage of the cheaper cost of the geotherm as well.
Meanwhile, Atterfield still does not have any power down. It makes some amount of sense. He did not have a great path into power. One thing he has going for him, he is the only player in reactors. He's buying into this fuel, which will help him a bit, but still solidly behind. See what he does to get back into things. Gameslayer has this very nice pleasure dome up. And moving into reactors. That should be really nice for him. It surprises me that we haven't seen a single EMP or really any aggressive black market item thrown yet. There are plenty of targets available. Part of it that is people wanting to secure their power and other advanced buildings with these goon squads. Part of it is picking up those claims. Still is a bit concerning when I think black magic might be threatening to become very dangerous quickly if no one does something about this wind.
I actually feel as though black magic's going to be the first one to be aggressive as well. He's going to be looking at that pleasure dome and be wanting to hit that. Just get EMP'd there.
Yeah. Black magic does have the pleasure dome spied out. Definitely thinking about hitting it, maybe hesitating a bit because he doesn't want to spend the 2 cooldowns. Although he really should be using his cooldown right now.
Interestingly, Gensler went for an indirect EMP there as well, being too scared of the goons on black magic's power.
Yeah, it makes some amount of sense. Once you get that 4th power down, it's not really clear which tile is going to be gooned. If you're hitting at one of the ends, you're not really accomplishing much anyway, so the indirect one, it's one of these situations where I think it makes sense.
Yeah. This feels like a very nasty auction watching Conto and Gameslayer bidding on this with their massive amount of deaths.
Yeah.
I feel like Gameslayer is going to want to pay a lot for this with his pleasure dome up. And Black Magic knows that, he's just pushing the price, he doesn't care about it. I think 36 is a bit much, I think I could have let it go up to 32, and that cripples Gameslayer for debt before then.
Yeah, it would be hard for Gameslayer to really effectively deal with 120k of debt at this point. It really does cause problems for Black Magic. He was relying on power money to get a lot done. It's effectively closed off to him now, although he is securing more water as well, and that should carry him forward. I would like to see maybe a transition out of some of this power, which is happening. Patent Lab might not have been the choice I go for, though. Not with a scientist already in one, and the elite.
The black market is online.
So I'm looking here, Adafir is actually sitting on like most of the water here. Between a scientist and elite, they're not putting in much. Black Magic's only just got into water, so he's capitalizing on it now.
Right. The big problem is that it's just going to rapidly lose value as Black Magic's water flows in.
Yeah, he needs to be ready to sell it.
Right.
Adderfield going for hacker as well, going for electronics hack, which is safe. I assume he's going to transition this water into electronics for the hack. I don't mind this player, he seems like very behind, so he's obviously trying to, he's going for like a high risk strategy here with the hacker array.
Yeah, the water stockpile is going very poorly for him.
Yeah,
not selling out through the surplus, or really paying enough attention at all to that.
Yeah, that needs to have been gone about a minute ago. And he sold 100 there, but it's too late.
Yep.
So, but the very good players now sort of a bit fizzled away.
We really should be selling some of the steel too, I think. An HQ4 upgrade is also probably cheap enough that it makes all the sense in the world. Everyone has too much money, there's not going to be a majority buyout chance unless someone does something really unnecessary. Atterfield really needs to be upgrading and trying to keep up here.
So that pleasure dome has now got 5 adjacency that we saw before. Gameplay's actually come for the second pleasure dome as well. So
a new claim is available.
How do you feel about the second pleasure dome? I generally don't like it just because it's a pretty significant extra cost and it's not extra money, as not very much extra money as the elite, but it does very effectively just discourage anyone from ever computing. Their pleasure domes would be god-awful.
Yep, so I actually just watched the numbers there, and while the second pleasure dome is making 283 per second, it actually decreased the first one by 200, so it's actually only like a net gain of like, what, 80, 90 per second before we consider the chem cost as well,
Right.
and the power cost, so it's really not worth it right now.
Sold.
I feel at this point it's actually more worthwhile just to turn that second one off than just let the first one go. Especially, and, turn off for a second there. Yeah. Again, with the 5 adjacent of the first one, you don't want to hinder that at all.
Right, and the first one's even still doomed. No one has shown a strong desire to interfere with it, so I'd be very happy to leave that where it is. Maybe move into an optimization center instead and get things going there. Kanto has made the very risky upgrade choice. Gameslayer has started pushing in, Black Magic helping, as is his
I'd like to see Asteroid help as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to give the full sub to the elite at this point, so I think getting whatever subs you can here.
Kanto should be a pretty strong sub, HQ5 scientist with the slant drilling.
Yeah. I'd maybe like to see these players snap up the rest of that stock as well, if that's too late.
As soon as they can. Outerfield probably should even sell out of some of his stock to get that done.
Yeah. So Black Magic HQ5 now, the first one, he's probably going to safely get there. So I would like to see him just quickly buy that stock, since he's not saving for an upgrade anymore.
The black market is online.
HQ5 upgrade does make enough sense. He had a lot of paired buildings that were making a lot of money but could be making a lot more. I don't know what he's waiting for in terms of getting that last farm down or anything, though. Guess he got distracted by black market.
Yeah. I think he's doing a carbon hack right now, so he's just probably holding onto that carbon maybe. Surprisingly, he's actually been on 2 carbon this whole time and not been nuked once.
Yep.
An elite
No.
HQ
He's just
has
gonna
been
get away with it.
upgraded.
And no one has bothered to nuke his carbon, no one has bothered to get into carbon of their own. It is... I guess it does make enough sense for him to move into the 3rd carbon now, if he ever needs to go off-world.
The
Something
black
that
market
lets
is
him build
open
up the
for
stockpile
business.
quickly.
Yep.
But at this point, I still really like Gameslayer's position.
Yeah, I mean, an elite with a sub, I mean, you can't really argue with that position, I don't think. That being said, I'm not sure about his composition. He's also doing the things we saw last game as well. He's in a lot of deaths. And that once again might bring him down this game if he doesn't get it under control a bit faster.
Available to the highest
A
bidder.
lot of debt with a lot of buildings auto-off. Has he ever actually... No, he has not actually ever made a plan to deal with water. Part of what his plans were might have been just to slant off of the water in Outerfield and Kanto's area. Kanto effectively ruined that by picking up slant and surrounding the water. And now Gameslayer finally making this move into this far away water will just be vulnerable and not very good.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, maybe even consider like a hacker raid just to keep surplusing that water.
Right. Definitely a more viable move as an elite. You can keep those chain surpluses going while still doing shortages. That
Time to start
Um,
improving every
I didn't see him build his pattern lab, but he seems to have scrapped out of it now, so again, he's not getting teleportation either with this distant water. So I don't know Games's plan here to get out of this. I feel like in his position I would just be all hands on deck and just get out of that debt as soon as you can and figure it out. But I get the feeling that's not what he's gonna do.
I think it's also reasonable to do some of what he did, keep pushing into Kanto's stock and then pay off as much debt as possible, but again,
Yeah.
not sure
Do you think
that's...
he's gonna do it now?
Yep, he just did.
Our methods continue to improve.
Okay.
Nice underkeeper.
They're still in a very strong position, although water is going to be a problem, and we'll see what his plan is for dealing with that. Mass optimizations for extra claims into water is certainly viable.
Games has actually had his silicon fully nuked as well, being in triple glass with that. It's not a good position to be in.
Yeah, it is definitely concerning that he moved into so many silicon claims in the first place, and that he's been running his triple glass for so long. Both of them do not seem like they need to happen.
Yeah, this surplus as well is sort of working against him. A certain surplus shortage of life support is not working against him. Water's opposite 200 now.
Meanwhile, Asteroid is the only player in this game who is not in a lot of debt. He's still solidly behind in cash, his territory is still a bit weaker, still behind in optimizations, but
Market misinformation
he
in progress.
might be in a position to affect things a bit.
I'm really liking Black Magic spot here as the only one with like a real water surplus.
The black market
200
is
each.
online.
I don't see that can go wrong. And I think that water is actually making more money than the pleasure dome. Yep.
Yeah, this bounce nuke is really going to seal in his water advantage, and GameSlayer cannot like that. I do really question this off-world move without thinking machines, without any way to... I mean, he can pay out of his debt and deal with it, but it'd be expensive.
Yeah, the only thing going for him is it only costs him about 80k, I think. Off-wheel launch is currently 40k, so it's going to pay itself off in 2 minutes.
I don't know, part of me would still prefer like a patent lab going for the slant drilling.
Oh, definitely. I definitely think slant drilling and teleportation are what he wants. I even think machines now is obviously going off-world as well. Black Magic buying the games, I like that. I'd like to see Asteroid join him, I don't think he will.
It doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
My only concern is that Black Magic does have his own debt issues right now as well.
Oh, okay. Asteroid does jump in there.
That being said, GameSlayer just paid off another 100k of there, he just went from +4 to D+3, D+1.
Right. He still has a solid cash advantage, although he still needs to buy 2 more stocks. It should be a pretty even race. GameSlayer should be making more money.
GameSlayer is currently taking on about 1k of debt every 2 seconds. That is very concerning with no fuel, not enough water, and not enough oxygen coming in.
Right. In a lot of ways, I think Black Magic kind of had to make this move. He has not moved into any optimizations this game. Very much playing for a short game with this double hacker array play. If this doesn't work out for him, he really had no other chance anyway.
Yeah, he's all in on it, but I think I feel like he's gonna win the race against GameSlayer here.
Meanwhile, Asteroid moving into an off-world as well. Much more easy for him to defend with both his opponents struggling with debt. Moving into 2 off-worlds even. This could work out very nicely for a comeback if this fight drags on long enough.
It's looking like it might. Black Magic is his first off-world up as well.
Yeah, it feels like it might be a little too late for this off-world. I understand the reasoning behind it, it's hard to get enough money otherwise, but at the same time, the longer this goes, the worse things look.
The black market is open for business. Did you think we would be so easy to hoodwink? Market misinformation in progress.
I also want to say it's really inexcusable that mutinies are still 2k at this point in the game.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's inexcusable that holograms are 3k and network buys are 2k, but mutinies, like, they should be like 30k by now.
Right, everyone should just buy a cheap mutiny, stored forever. Early in the game, it costs nothing, it's going to be useful. There's no reason not to.
I always have one mutiny in hand, just in case. Let's see, here's Nanotech, it's GameSlayer, so I guess he's gonna want this just for some free stuff. There's not too many patterns left. I mean, he could double pattern here as well.
Right. Would be interesting to see an extra slant drilling before scrap, but it goes to Black Magic anyway. That's just gonna make him a little cheaper. Thinking Machines is not gonna get anything done for him. It literally affects 3 of his buildings, not including his off-world even.
Yeah, so I think at this point, I think you're right, it's too late. GameStar just about has the buy. Black Magic's selling out. Axiom Path is dead as well, just to make it a bit more of a deterrent.
Atterfield making a huge mistake buying into his own dead instead of buying into Gameslayer. Although Gameslayer deciding he would rather not win as quickly. I don't see any reason not to just buy up Black Magic.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Black market is online.
GameStar's now in second off-world.
Launch affirmative. What a payout.
Should still have this comfortably, but it opens up a little bit of a hole. Atterfield, you've had your Black Market cooldown open for so long. Please just grab this mutiny and use it on this off-world once it's...
First mutiny is now being bought by Black Magic. Finally!
Yeah, it's about time.
And without thinking machines, why are we mutinying Gameslayer's off-world tier?
Oh, okay, finally. A little bit early, with the freeze still going, but I'll take it.
Make room for the profits.
So now, Gameslayer's wastes his time defending Atterfield's mutiny, so Black Magic's free to sweep in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Off-world shipment
You can see
launched.
Black Magic was waiting to do it in a second, he's going to buy a second League afterwards.
The engineers have advanced our production.
Gameslayer 100% on Black Magic again. I don't see this game not going Gameslayer's way at this point.
Right. Yeah,
Just
you
pretty much.
could have just taken this buy a long time ago, but it's still fine. Still not much Atterfield can do.
I mean, Konto's making like 3k per second as a sub, so like,
Yeah.
that's enough alone, even if
The
Gameslayer's not
black
making
market
money.
is open for business.
Right, Atterfield doing a lot of things this game that kind of been counterproductive. The early holding onto the water stockpile, and right now holding onto this fuel, holding onto this
Launch
steel.
affirmative.
All things that are really boosting Kanto's income and just hurting him.
Our methods continue to improve.
Outside of the
Yeah,
miracle
for
hack,
market
I'm not seeing
adjustments.
this game ending. And Atterfield is trying with a
Right, he's been
Electronics hacks?
spamming electronics hacks most of the game, and they've never felt particularly strong to me, especially since Gameslayer has been on electronics for so long. He has them fully optimized at this point. It's
Yeah.
just
Optimization
not
routine
great.
successful.
he's making more than double Atterfield's electronics.
Yeah. And even with these hacks, Gameslayer has been buying into them, and he hasn't been getting punished at all. It's just been working out great for Gameslayer.
I feel at this point, as Atterfield, you sell out. Gameslayer has 250, you have 700, and Gameslayer sells out first.
Yep.
And Atterfield sells afterwards, which is just once they sell out, you might as well stay in.
Well,
Successful off-road
probably
shipment.
not at this
Make
point
room
when
for the profits.
Well, I mean, at this
Gameslayer's
point,
making so much, but yeah, in general. I don't know that I'd agree that the game was Kato's, but he was definitely in a strong position before he threw it away.
I still think that almost comes down to that pleasure dome from the start being untouched the whole time. That was enough to propel Gameslayer to a huge amount of money to buy Contour, and then just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
I'll actually check.
Early Pleasure
Yeah, that-
Dome getting unpunished just means such a faster early mid-game for Gameslayer. And even though there weren't great ways to deal with it, it had to be done.
That very first pleasure dome still has that initial goon in it.
Yeah, that just shouldn't happen.
In Black Magic's defense, obviously he spied it at least to see that it was the goon, but then he didn't. No one else tried it, and obviously, I guess because no one else tried it, he didn't try it either.
Right, I mean, Black Magic had some of his own concerns trying to protect his power, making that power play, but once he went for that overbid on virtual reality, I don't think that's something he could afford to ignore any longer. If he makes the really quick power push, gets something done with that, maybe it's fine, but once you just gotta do something.
So just looking at the stats, uncharacteristically, Black Magic went for a very, very short-term game plan. He bought 0 claims on the market. So he bought a lot of nukes as well to force people out of water. And I think Silicon is what he tried. And obviously into the hack array rather than like off-world optimizations. Whereas on the other hand, like Game Slayer was buying claims, bought lots of goons, lots of optimizations, and he was just set for the long game right from the start. So that paired with the majority buy at the start, it's almost a game in itself, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right, the biggest vulnerability for Gameslayer that game was going to be the debt, his low stock price. Once he gets that short up by buying out Kanto, there wasn't all that much the other players could do. Atterfield just way too far behind for most of the game.
I feel like you could have maybe abused Gameslayer's lack of life support a bit more. For the longest time, life support was really high, and that was contributing a lot of debt, but they could have potentially bought in, hacked it up, rather than doing carbon hacks, like water hacks, or food hacks, oxygen hacks.
Right.
I think that would have hurt Gameslayer even more.
That combined with freezes onto the life support cluster between Kanto and Atterfield, I think, is very open to do.